My name is Carly Rukas and I'm the clinical lead at Wandi Nerida. I look after the clinical program here at Wandi, so just making sure that we're following our model of care and that everything that happens is hopefully as consistent as possible. So our model of care is based on this idea that everybody is born with a core healthy self, and then over time, the eating disorder self develops to help meet certain needs for that individual. And so our model of care is really based on strengthening up the healthy self in individuals to help heal that eating disorder self that has developed. We do this in a staged approach, so when people come in, we kind of expect that their eating disorder self is going to be quite strong. And so within our model of care, we have a phase system where people move through the phases, starting with phase 1, moving up through to phase 4. And that is sort of meant to mirror how strong their healthy self is. So as the healthy self gets stronger, somebody might progress through the phases. And as you progress through the phases, you might start to take on more responsibility. So with things like portioning, cooking your own foods, going on leave and having meals and snacks, either by yourself or with family, we sort of hand that back to people once their healthy self is starting to be stronger and can do those things safely. What makes Wandi different is that we recognize that eating disorders are psychological illnesses with physical consequences. And so we really try and address both those things in our program here. So we're fully licensed as a hospital. We have nursing staff. We can look after people's medications, look after their observations, all those things. But then also, the bulk of our program is really around the psychological healing for the person. So we have lots of group therapy, you have individual sessions with a therapist, you have individual sessions with your dietitian, and we're not only addressing the physical symptoms of the eating disorder, we're really trying to strengthen that healthy self so that the person can leave here in a place that they're able to manage at a lower level of care. We definitely believe that recovery is possible for someone with an eating disorder. I think that's demonstrated in our staffing. So we have a lot of staff that have lived experience that have fully recovered, and a main part of their role is to really offer that hope and to let people know, yes, I've been where you are and I've gotten through to the other side of it, and these are some of the things that have helped me. I think often people with eating disorders have maybe never met somebody that's fully recovered from an eating disorder, or a lot of people with eating disorders have the belief that recovery isn't possible. So working alongside people that have kind of been where they're at and have come out the other side, I think can offer a lot of hope and inspiration for our participants. We're in quite a beautiful rural setting. We have lots of space, and we have lots of indoor and outdoor spaces where we facilitate a lot of our program. So for example, we run a lot of our groups outside on the veranda. We have nature-based therapy up in the garden. We have equine therapy with our 4 horses. And we just know that the natural environment can be really healing for people, and so we try to incorporate that as much as possible. And I suppose that's something that sets us apart from more traditional hospital programs as well, is allowing people to spend time in nature, to connect with nature, and to utilize those healing aspects of nature. So we have 4 horses here at Wandi, and we have 3 equine trained staff. Each week, participants will have 1 session of equine assisted group therapy, and then there's also scope for people to have individual sessions as well on an as needed basis. And really, the ethos of equine assisted therapy is that it helps people to get in touch with being able to identify how they're feeling in the moment and regulate themselves, and using the horses as a way to kind of ground themselves, understand what emotions they might be experiencing, because horses are very perceptive to picking up on that. So we use it as a bit of a mirror or reflection, and then learning how to regulate themselves, because in order to interact safely with horses, you have to be grounded, you have to be regulated. And so the horses really help our participants to learn some of those skills and to then be able to apply them in other settings as well. So we have a drama therapist. It's a way to kind of be a little bit silly, have a little bit of fun, increase spontaneity, increase that cognitive flexibility, which we know people with eating disorders really struggle with. So again, just a different way to kind of get at some of those things that people tend to struggle with eating disorders. So we have our nature-based program once a week where clients spend time up in the garden and do different activities utilizing nature or things outside to kind of connect with themselves. So sometimes it might be doing different crafts, sometimes it might be planting things in the garden and then harvesting them. And it's just another way that people can, again, connect with outside and and work through things without necessarily having to talk about them. And I guess these less traditional, more eclectic types of therapy are there to help people approach things in a different way. So we offer a range of therapies at Wandi. Our kind of core, more evidence-based ones are around DBT, CBTE, principles from ACT. We do a lot of dialoguing between the healthy self and the eating disorder self, how to strengthen up that healthy self. And we also have a core process group that runs 3 times a week. That's really, it's an open group where people can bring up whatever is on their mind and get feedback from their peers. We try to foster an environment where everybody is really supporting each other, and the milieu is a strong agent of change here at our program. So the core process group is one group in which we kind of strengthen those bonds and encourage people to be able to advocate for themselves, identify what they're feeling, and get help from others. We know that transitioning out of a hospital or residential program can be really challenging for people, and so we do our best to work with our participants and families to make that transition as smooth as possible. So towards the end of your stay at Wandi, we would start to think about setting up what's the next step for you. Will you be returning to a community team? Do you need to maybe build up your community team? Will you be stepping down to a day program? We think the connection that people make at Wandi is really important, so we also have an ongoing alumni group that we run, which is offered to all of our participants every week, and it's just a way that people can connect back into some of the staff and other participants here and just be reminded of some of the things that they learned, as we know that stepping out of an environment like this can be quite challenging for people. When you finish your time at Wandi, and that doesn't matter if you've been here for 3 weeks or for 12 weeks or what phase you're on, we celebrate everyone's leaving with a graduation ceremony, and this is a really, really important part of our program. And it's just a time for us to come together, acknowledge the progress that somebody has made, no matter, and it doesn't matter how much or how little you've progressed here. It's really just a win to be able to bring yourself here and work on anything in regards to your eating disorder. So we come together, the person writes a letter of hope, and we then all give them feedback about the things that we've noticed in their progress or the impact that they might have had of us. And this is a really special time that clients have said they really appreciate, and it's just a nice time to kind of acknowledge the hard work that people have done, because even getting yourself here and engaging in this program at all is really, really hard, and we want to acknowledge that. So at Wandi, we have an exceptionally high staff to participant ratio. So we always have at least 4 front-facing staff who are on the floor for a maximum of 13 participants. And then beyond that, we have other staff, our allied health staff, dietitians and therapists, as well as our contractors who are coming in to run different groups and support in different ways as well. So Carolyn Costin is she's a woman from America who developed the first residential eating disorder treatment in America called Montanito. And our model of care is really based off of the model of care that she used, and that was proven to be very successful in America. Well, most of our staff do have previous experience working with eating disorders prior to coming here. We also have very rigorous training with Carolyn Costin that all of our staff complete when they first get employed, and we have ongoing supervision and training from Carolyn as well as myself to kind of make sure that all the staff are fully trained and are able to deal with any upcoming issues that are arising. We have a team that's all working together with each participant to best develop a plan that's going to work for that participant. So on your team would include your therapist, who you see for 2 sessions every week, your dietitian, who you see for 1 session every week, and then other members of the team are the nurses, recovery navigators, psychiatrists, and GP. And we meet once a week as a team for us to kind of chat about how is this participant going, what supports do they need, what's going well, what are they struggling with, and make a really individualized plan with them for that upcoming week. So we have our larger phase structure, which kind of guides how somebody might move through the program, but each week we're going to make an individualized plan of what phase somebody's on, what are their specific goals that week, and then we work as a team to support that person with those goals for that week. The milieu is basically all of the participants as well as the staff. They're coexisting here together. It's like a little home. And we see the milieu as a powerful agent of change here. So it's not just working on your eating disorder individually, but it's also working on relationships with other people. How do I get my needs met? How do I advocate for myself? How do I support somebody else? And working through some of the issues that might come up when you're living with 13 people that you've never met before. We work through those in group, and we actually see that as a way to help people build up their own relationship skills, communication skills, and that is also something that's really important for recovery. We know that family involvement is very, very important, and also support for carers is very important. So there's a couple of ways that we involve families here at Wandi. We have a weekly family and friends education session, which we do over Zoom so that people from all over the country can participate. We also have a monthly family day where we invite all the participants' families to come to Wandi, and we have a day where we run a couple of groups with both the families and the participants. And then beyond that, we really employ the families' support within the structure of the therapies. So families might have individual family sessions to support their loved ones at different points in their treatment, kind of on an as-needed basis. We might involve families to support with leave when participants are starting to get more independence and spending time away from Wandi. If families are able to be close by, we involve them in that process. And we just try and keep families involved throughout the process, because we know that when participants leave here, many of them are going to be maybe living with families or getting support from families. And it's not just families, it's also significant others, it could be friends, it's just really anybody that's in that participant's support system.